And now, for some intro music. Ooh, let's podcast.
Hello, welcome back to the Bits and Pieces podcast. This is episode number 4, and this time I am joined, as always, by George.
Hello.
And Gav.
Hello.
Excellent. So today, we're going to talk a bit about Gav and his new Nintendo Switch, which is pretty cool. A bit about the Call of Duty Cinematic Universe, because we're only 6 months late about talking about that one.
Someone brought this to our attention. And
yeah.
I put it in the podcast show notes in April.
Discovered it again and you were fucking raging. This is important. We need to speak about this.
Exactly. George can tell us about Brink and something called 12 Orbits, and then I'm going to do some bit of talk about the Elder Scrolls Online, because I played a bit of that. It's kind of good. And then we'll do some board games, which should be nice and fun. Do you want to kick us off, Gav, with you and your Nintendo Switch?
Yeah,
the most important item on our news agenda.
It is, one might say, the only important thing anyone has ever spoken about in regards to video games is me buying things. After a long argument, a long struggle with Nintendo's persistent lack of stock, I eventually gave up and just ordered one. I own 3 games at the minute. I have The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, that one game that came out with the console. No, sorry, I forgot about 1-2 Switch, which I don't own. I have that, which is excellent, by the way, as I think everyone who has ever lived has said.
Yeah, it makes me want to get a Switch.
It is a very, very good game. And I have Splatoon 2, which is also very good. And I have Disgaea 5, which is... You have to be into it, but let's just say that the combination of it being a full-featured version of the game and also being portable is deadly.
That is a JRPG?
It's the JRPG that grinds forever.
It's like some of the strategy ones where
it is
on a grid.
But
Final Fantasy
those 3 games are 50% of the Switch's library. Because what else is there? There's
there's Bomberman,
1-2 Switch, Bomberman, and
Mario
Kart 8.
Kart Deluxe. There's ARMS. I played ARMS at a friend's house actually, but I don't own it myself.
Yeah.
I have a fun story. Well, it's not a fun story. I went to a sweaty nightclub to watch people play ARMS.
Sweaty nightclub.
Yeah, well, not
did
really.
They have that on the marketing,
I was
did they?
Well, because I'm trying to write a couple of features on video game places that you can go to that aren't your bedroom.
Yeah, okay.
And so I've got one up so far, which is just a review of the Board Game Cafe Drafts. But
I'm working on a review of my living room at the minute.
Someone else's bedroom.
Yeah. The kitchen is soon to come. But there's in London has a video game night out, I guess I would describe it. And normally it's on a Wednesday, so it's really difficult to get to because it's I've got work. But they were hosting one, and it happened to be free. And basically they were advertising it as an arms tournament night at this sort of bar / so it's quite a club. It had it was a basement with a DJ in it.
That's a nightclub.
Yeah, and so I was like, well, okay, go along to that. I sort of went in, and I don't really know what I was expecting, but video games on a night out wasn't quite as exciting as I'd hoped.
No,
I mean, it was. I mean, not it was. I guess it was very slightly school disco-ish in that there were about 4 consoles, which could host about a total grand total of about 8 people playing games.
Yeah,
and then there were maybe 35 to 50 people there. It's always difficult to estimate numbers.
Yeah.
But who were then just kind of standing around, chatting to the 1 or 2 people that came with. And I'd quite like the idea of perhaps just dancing to some terrible video game music that I think the DJ remixed, but not really. It was slightly school disco-ish, just kind of awkwardly standing around, hoping that you might get a go on a console.
I don't want to.
I didn't, so I ended up just watching lots of people play ARMS.
I don't want to do any socializing or dance. When do I get my turn playing the video game?
Yeah, and so And then basically it was I dragged my girlfriend along, so we ended up just going upstairs and having a drink and played some ping pong. And then I was like, well, I feel like I haven't really done my job properly of investigating this gaming night out, so I went back down about an hour and a half later, and it was still kind of, it was a nice-ish atmosphere, it just wasn't particularly energetic for a night out. And so I was like, well, it's 10:30, I think I'm gonna call it. So that was my exciting video game night out.
Captain's log, 10:30, still haven't got a chance to play the Nintendo Switch, going home.
Yeah.
They do a retro games night in Leeds every few months, which is usually quite good. I've been a couple of times, and there's lots of consoles there. So because it's all old stuff, there's just like they usually have about 60 consoles that feel like a loft in a pub, and that's usually quite nice. Actually, it's not normal. It's very little like. It's not massively busy. There's not like too many people to fit in the room, and there's always like something to play with someone random. So if you want to play like old school Mario Kart or Smash Bros or something like that, it's usually if you're ever up in Leeds, I'll see if there's one on because it's a good evening.
Yeah, well, I mean, this one was called Gamer Disco, and they organise nights out in like a couple of different locations. I think it's like a month. It's like monthly.
Yeah,
and they have a couple of different bars that will host them. I feel like I should go to another one to give it kind of a fair appraisal.
Yeah.
Now that my expectations have been slightly realigned, because I was kind of expecting a night of basically like a club night, just a bit of dancing to some video game-ish music, or perhaps slotted in between the other music, and then you could just go to a slightly more chilled area to play games, but it wasn't quite that. But yeah, it's called Gamer Disco. And I keep seeing other nights that look quite fun. I think they host stuff in conjunction with Kotaku UK sometimes.
Oh, cool.
Someone recently opened I think they serve drinks there. I don't know if it's like, it doesn't advertise itself much as a bar, but like a kind of gaming location in Aberdeen, which is where I'm from. You know, someone finally realized that people in that frigid north area where no one actually wants to live play video games as well. And so until it goes under in like 2 weeks' time, that does exist at the minute. I've been thinking about going and checking it out, but
write an article.
Yeah,
give us a review. Just to tell us how it is. Because there are two game there's 3 video game bars in London that I know of. One's like a competitive esports type bar, and then 2 are just kind of pubs. With
so like what you're saying is, per head of population, Aberdeen actually has more video game bars than London.
I think so. One, that wouldn't surprise me.
Because there's like 250,000 people here. There's 1. And there's like 8 million people in London, and there's 3. So Aberdeen wins again, boys.
Yeah, I think there's one opening in Brighton soon as well, and then Norwich has got one. So Norwich might even beat Aberdeen. So I reckon the population there is like 80,000, 100,000.
Have to do a scoreboard.
For heads of population. I recently saw something actually unrelated, just to completely car crash this conversation. I recently saw something unrelated, which is someone compiled a list of places in the United Kingdom judged by how many Greggs stores they had per head of population.
Where was highest?
I think it was... I can't remember. I think it might have been Glasgow, but somewhere was... It was basically... The idea was they divided the United Kingdom into, specifically I suppose England on the map, into how north places are depending on Greg's density. So
I wonder if there's any correlation between heart disease rates and density of Greg's.
Maybe.
Possibly.
Well, not that I've got anything against Greg's. They are purveyors of deliciously cheap baked goods.
Right.
So moving on to another exciting news segment, I feel we should address this semi-recent announcement, in that it was announced this year, possibly, or at least was covered this year, which is that Activision-Blizzard, are keen to launch a Call of Duty cinematic universe.
Yeah.
And so I was reading about this in, I think, April sometime, and popped it in the show notes. And there it has languished
it only took us
until
several
I
months
dug
to
it
read
up.
it.
It is
I didn't even
rested.
notice it until today, so good job, us.
But I mean, I don't really know what. Like, I mean, I can kind of understand a standalone Call of Duty film because I guess it has a popular audience and they think they can make money from it. It's just the cinematic universe I find quite funny because all of the most of the games are like fairly segmented up into different universes. Like, I think the first 4 are meant to take place in the same. Well, actually, I guess the Modern Warfares do, and then you've got the funny future ones and the Black Ops ones, which will kind of split. But
yeah.
I imagine this Earth that will host the Call of Duty cinematic universe. That's the COD coup, as the inevitable abbreviation will be, if it ever gets greenlit. But like, what a terrible planet that there are just constant wars, just all the time to facilitate the film.
God, one would live on that planet. Jesus.
Well, no, but I mean, like more
Not
like the scope of the Call of Duty video games that we've seen, where just constantly, a couple of nukes get detonated.
Yeah, with like the Call of Duty like
America has been
logo
invaded a few times as a massive land war in Europe.
With the constant war is bad, but war is so freaking cool. But war is bad, but it's so cool. It's very confusing. Call of Duty as like a cinematic universe, even as a film, makes very little sense because it's take Call of Duty out of a military shooter, and it's just a military shooter. Having it be called Call of Duty doesn't make it anything specific. It's like having the World of Warcraft film, for example. If you didn't call it the World of Warcraft and still had the exact same things, it'd still be you'd be like, well, that's just World of Warcraft, surely, because of what's in it. But if you just had a military film, it doesn't necessarily make it Call of Duty.
No, it's just Earth and some wars going on.
Yeah, it has nothing kind of unique to it. So,
and I'm interested to know who they'll pick to be the bad guys, because I feel like the Russians have kind of gone out of vogue to be the bad guys.
Well,
yeah.
Surely, I've returned, by the way. Surely it would be North Korea at this stage.
That's true, I guess. Yeah, I get
depends how topical they're going to get, isn't it? I can't imagine. Yeah, do you think that Call of Duty will be the next brave, political, outspoken piece of art?
Yeah.
There'll be an interactive cinema segment where it asks everyone to stand up and press F to pay respects.
I can totally imagine instead of facing any of the day's pressing modern issues, instead they just go and they are just making another World War II one. So
also, take your point of view. What makes the world any different to any other film about war?
Yeah,
and specifically Call of Duty.
You could just have Saving Private Ryan. I was Call of Duty.
Well, isn't it obvious?
It could easily have been, but it doesn't make it any having Call of Duty in the name.
It was just the Blizzard Activision logo splash at the beginning.
He's like Saving Private Ryan, but at the start, the Germans with the machine guns, they get a kill streak and they get to call in dogs and so on, and then
helicopter just appears out of literally nowhere.
I
know. You know the bit at the end where Tom Hanks is on the bridge frantically trying to shoot the tank and it gets bombed. Yeah. That's because the guy in the back... He called in his kill streak. He called in he'd been saving it.
I mean, maybe they'll do something meta and it'll be like a film about someone playing Call of Duty. Did anyone ever see there's a dreadful film, I think it's called Gamer?
Oh, I saw that. I didn't see it. Yeah, with...
Scottish actor that does action films and was in 300. Him.
I know who you mean.
Where, you play... everyone is playing video games, but they're controlling real people.
Oh,
so
yes,
there's this segmented bit where I think they're prisoners and people get sentenced to this are controlled by the people playing the video game and just have to shoot each other.
No.
And then there's a whole other weird segment where people are playing like Second Life, but they're controlling real people. And so like you had like, and so it cuts to like this kind of very attractive woman like having sex with someone, and then like it cuts to this kind of sweaty guy in like a basement, kind of grunting and like type on his keyboard to control this poor woman.
Surely not like a. See, if it was Second Life, surely it would be like an 8-foot furry monster having like Lovecraftian intercourse.
Yeah, I can't remember what happened. I think in the end, Scottish Action Man breaks out of the gamer place. It's really unclear because he's really good at shooting people, but at the same time is controlled by like an 11-year-old boy.
Yeah,
and it's not really clear which one's doing that. But he breaks out into Second Life, or it's whatever its actual name in the film is, to rescue his wife who is being controlled by some like basement man.
That's such a super villain.
And I can't remember how it ends. I think there's like a big evil corporate entity that probably blows up.
Yeah, I think that's how it ends. That film was awful.
But I mean, maybe there'll be some sort of meta element to Call of Duty.
I doubt it. I think what they'll probably do is they'll have a bunch of films that have like a stream like narrative. Like they'll have ones that are set in Second World War and then more modern and stuff, and it'll be like a corporation was evil throughout the entire time, or something like that.
Like, I think if they were good, I think if they're gonna
I think that's what they'll do. They'll just do generic white man in a corporation was evil. That's probably like the most safe thing they can do.
Get Kevin Spacey back
around it.
Oh yeah. Well, I think like if they were doing this, like I guess what's the Black Ops storyline where they can cover lots of time periods because it's a guy remembering stuff, and that way they can be like, look, remember when we made a game about World War II that we also happened to be releasing at the end of the year, and that time we made a game about Vietnam, and they can jump to all of the. I don't know. I think the problem is because Call of Duty is just like, let's do a generic war. It's so difficult to actually do anything that's like, this is Call of Duty.
I mean, unless it's just like a straight adaptation of one of the games. But at the same time, it might just be like a really generic bad war film that just completely sucks.
I guess that's the thing. Like the thing that makes Call of Duty is all of the gaminess of it. Like there are no, beyond the gamey elements of kill streaks and stuff, there is no like identifying factor. It's not like Street Fighter where you can be like, oh yes, that is Ryu, or a Mortal Kombat film. You're like, look, that's Raiden. You're like, look, it's a man with some stubble and a cropped haircut.
You might recognize the characters if you're really into it, but.
Well, I guess the only really recognisable character they had was, I mean, Kevin Spacey, but that's because you recognise Kevin Spacey, and
Captain Price with a mustache.
Captain Price, of which there were
inexplicably appeared in multiple locations.
Well, and he had like a grandfather who was also just called Captain Price and looked identical.
Who shared his military rank and exact features and voice. And then there was the time they like killed off that guy in Call of Duty 4 and then brought him back, but it wasn't him. Like the Cockney dude, and they were like, oh, he's dead now. And then he came back in Modern Warfare 2. Well, he had a mask on, and they were like, oh, it's not him, it's someone else. It's just the same guy.
Well, is it like what's great though is the two people they've put on the project to somehow get it off the ground. So I think she's a co-president. I think Stacey Sher, but apparently she has producer credits on Pulp Fiction, Django Unchained, and The Hateful Eight.
Right.
So I mean, I don't know. I guess you never know how much of involvement a producer credit actually gets. But
a film acumen there, I guess.
There's it's not a terrible CV.
Yeah,
but at the same time, they're making a Call of Duty film.
Yeah, but they're just throwing money at them, I'm sure. But they want to make it like Marvel-esque. So the thing I don't.
Oh, so apparently the other guy was he was played a role in developing and actually acquiring Marvel and Star Wars for Disney.
Right.
I can't see Disney picking up the Call of Duty brand, but
that's why it's a Call of Duty cinematic universe trademark.
Battle-scarred Mickey Mouse.
Yeah.
As part of the new Disney cinematic universe. After the third Civil War, Mickey Mouse emerges alone.
But apparently that it also mentions they might do it as a TV series. And so I mean, maybe that would work better, that you could just have each episode be a little sort of conflict pastiche of...
But one of the things with TV you have to remember is, in order to do like a convincing war series, you need an ungodly budget.
I mean, it's Blizzard Activision.
I guess they have money, but
if any company was going to need an ungodly budget,
I don't know how many like sane investors would look at it. Like, so how many people on the how many shareholders would be like, "Oh yeah, this sounds like a great idea. Like, go for it."
To be fair, the most recent Call of Duty was slated for being pretty bad, and yet still sold like nobody's business. So
oh yeah,
I imagine just by having it say, "It's Call of Duty," they can probably stick it on anything. Like,
I mean,
this box of flowers, these are Call of Duty. I bet they just go, boom. These scissors, Call of Duty scissors.
The business optimistic way to look at it.
I mean, Call of Duty doesn't even have an identifiable soundtrack. It's not like Battlefield that has the the kind of the dun dun dun. I can't do it, but that little Battlefield riff.
They should do a Destiny one instead. A Destiny cinematic universe. I'd watch that. That has like an interesting world and like characters and stuff.
I just feel like I'm actually lying on a bed at the minute for one reason or another. So just so you can imagine me being all sexy, but the idea of cinematic universe just freaks me out, because it's like someone's declared that anything can only be bankable if it's, not just a film by itself, but also like a lead-in to 20 other films.
Yeah.
And I feel like, it kind of means, like...
depressing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like...
You can't make just a film, you have to make a film and 7 sequels.
Well, it's like if you can make the first one a hit and people enjoy it, you've kind of got semi-dependable income, because you can, it just keeps bringing people back in. You don't need to keep taking any creative risk. You're just like...
But
we've made an IP that gets enough people into the cinema that it is profitable, and we can just reel one out every summer, which I guess is why there are constant headlines about Hollywood struggling with the blockbuster summers.
Yeah, but then the issue is they try to, rather than make a single good film and then lead into other things with it, what they try and do is establish a thing to begin with. And then if the first film is absolute gash, then they have problems. Like, what was it? The Mummy thing recently was supposed to be a whole cinematic universe, and it's just
that was part of I think the Dracula Untold was also meant to be part of that.
Yeah,
neither one have done well so far.
No.
Well, if you look at looking at like DC stuff, like Suicide Squad and Batman vs Superman,
they have struggled to establish themselves.
Yeah,
I think Wonder Woman finally kind of did it because it was all right, but
it wasn't bad.
That was after God knows how many misfires.
I guess because with Wonder Woman they'd finally actually found a likable character.
Yeah,
she was pretty great in it. I wasn't particularly impressed by the actual plot and story, but and the film itself. But I was like, actually no, I would watch Wonder Woman in more films. I thought she was quite fun.
Yeah, the issue is they tried to make. So they based this whole thing, they wanted to base it off anyway. 2 characters who were, Superman and Batman to begin with in those films. But the problem is it was like arsehole Superman and arsehole Batman. And it's like, that might work as, let's just say, an individual artistic exercise. But it didn't, by the way. But it could work. There's good comics about that. But it doesn't exactly work as something to base a franchise off, does it? It's join in next time for more exciting adventures of the dickheads. And then their other film was Suicide Squad, which was also not good, but for different reasons. And then it kind of just, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know, DC.
I think I can imagine the Call of Duty film suffering from very similar problems to Batman vs Superman, because so much about that film was all of these little iconic moments strung together by very little.
It was
in
the trailer, but with bits in between.
It was we need to get the Jesus iconography of Superman descending from the light, and we need a slow motion scene in which rain bounces off Batman's metal helmet, and we need Batman having a nightmare and struggling against in the kind of the wreckage of the world desolated by Superman, and you have all these incredible little tiny moments of kind of nice cinematography that look very impressive, and then in between all of them is nothing but contrivance and kind of desperation to go, oh god, we've got nothing, quick, cut to the next slow motion shot.
And that is kind of Call of Duty in a way.
Yeah, which is
because it's like you just have big bombastic set pieces.
Run down a corridor and shoot people, and then let's have a slow motion thing of a building collapsing, or you cradling the arms of Private Jenkins, who you formed a bond with 30 seconds ago, and now you're realising how horrible war is. But quick, you've just been given a multi-grenade launcher, time to go and kill everyone.
Yeah, like, oh, well, now you've got to do a slow motion segment, shoot them all. It's cool. And in a way it is kind of cool, but yeah, it's like, trying to make a film out of that is, one way or another, not.
Because the way they say cinematic universe makes you think it'll be like, we'll follow multiple characters, and then at some point they'll all come together and do
it's
something.
Like, what characters?
Like, make like the War Squad or something. They'll come together. They'll come together and then they'll
the fight men.
They'll blow up something really big or something. I don't know.
And I was thinking to myself, like, you know, the only film the Call of Duty game I would say almost works as a film. I was thinking to myself, it's like, oh, it's World at War, but World at War worked as a film because it shamelessly ripped off like every war film that's ever existed.
Like, all of the Call of Duty World War II ones we did. Like, there's, I think in 1 and 2, there are huge segments where you're just playing scenes from like Band of Brothers or Stalingrad.
Yeah, it's kind of nutty. It's like, if I remember right, someone did a whole list where the entire Russia bit of the film is like many bits, like the whole sniper battle. It's basically just enemy at the gate.
Yeah, it is.
And then, you know, there's all the other bits. Like, yeah, it's. I imagine lots of the bits in the Pacific Theater were lifted from the TV series of the same name.
Yeah, it's a weird thing as well. Like, most people,
I think the Pacific came out after World at War. So
right, okay, fair dues.
It's still a weird thing though. Like, not many people buy a Call of Duty game to follow the story. So
no.
I don't understand how they're going to sell Call of Duty and like some good stories or something. I don't. There seems to be like a bit of dissonance between those two bits. A bit confusing. Because I mean, if they can't sell people on the story of their games, how are they going to sell people on just the story alone of a film?
I think in many ways, I think Call of Duty will make an incredible trailer, and it will achieve their aim of trying to pack an opening weekend.
I suppose that's true.
And then you make your money back, which is like, I mean, that's how blockbusters became a thing. It was the idea that you have a bombastic trailer with enough things that people recognise and like that you can pack an opening weekend, make back your budget, make some profit, and then by the time that reviews come out and you're into the second week of running and no one's going, it doesn't matter because you've managed to push everyone into the cinema.
Yeah, I suppose it is like amazing marketing as well for the next actual game.
But like,
having super high budget live action trailers of a Call of Duty game essentially.
But I mean, it has us interested at least in that we're interested to see how they go about doing it.
Yeah,
I want to see how this car crash unfolds. Yes.
I
mean, not to be a negative Nancy, but there have been no good video game movies, and so I don't think that a video game movie with a bunch of money is going to be the solution. Like, I don't think the problem with Alone in the Dark. Fucking you ball, but anyway, I don't think the problem with what was it, like Max Payne, Assassin's Creed, I don't even think.
Probably
Prince of
Assassin's Creed
Persia.
was not that they didn't throw enough money at it.
Yeah,
that
I know.
Was not
like
the problem with
they were all pretty high budget, and they've all crashed.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, there was what film? I remember hearing they're making a film of something recently. Oh, well, yeah, they did make that one Phoenix Wright film. They are making Japan, films, but apparently that was decent. Anyway.
Of what, sorry?
Phoenix Wright.
Yeah. Oh, really?
It sounded very daft and probably was, and probably worked because it was a bit daft. Unlike,
I mean,
I feel
you say there have been no video game films, but amazingly, I watched Clue recently, which is an adaptation of a board game. And somehow it works. And it's a brilliantly fun kind of cult film almost. because like it's I mean it is completely perfect. So it's a murder mystery. People are summoned to a house. They arrive, are greeted by this mysterious butler, played by Tim Curry, like the most perfect casting. And they all, they arrive and they try to introduce themselves, and they all get given a name. It's like, oh no, sorry, for this evening you are Colonel Mustard. and like, so none of them are allowed to use their real names. And like, sort of things transpire. There's a murder. Everyone's trying to figure out what's going on, and it's just lots of kind of fun, like quite silly comedy. It's very campy. Like it's perfect kind of Tim Curry in like doing a comedy role. But what's really cool is that you can't really solve it, but at the end, they kind of do the kind of clue reveal, and then they make jokes about being, it was so and so in the room with the weapon. Like there's one point where they all end up with one of the iconic weapons. But what was really cool is when it was released in the cinema, different cinemas were sent different endings.
That is cool.
So I think there are 3 total endings, and basically different locations would be sent a different ending. And so when I think it was released in the 80s, I think. But yeah, people were chatting and they'd be like, "Oh, so how did you figure out it was so and so?" And they were like, "What? No, that's not how it ended." And they kept basically the endings separate for a really long time. Like when they released it on videotape, you would just get one of the random endings. And it wasn't until I watched it on DVD, and it wasn't until they basically did a DVD sort of, I guess like an HD release, that they put all of the endings together. And so when you watch the DVD version, you get one ending, and then it goes, "That's how it could have happened. Here's how it might have also happened." And it plays you the next ending, and basically it plays you all 3, and kind of leaves it up to you as to which one you think happened.
Right. Do all the endings, are they coherent? Sure, that's really difficult to do if it's just the ending that's different. Yeah,
kind of. So it starts to diverge as like everyone kind of, the kind of the sitting room reveal, like everyone is in the main hall, and basically the butler goes, "But wait, I know how they did it, and let me explain." And then he basically, from that point, it splits into 3 different endings, and he explains 3 different things.
Cool. That's interesting.
But yeah, like I was amazed because it has lots of little obviously nods to Cluedo.
Yeah.
Without being just completely dumb, and it's a fun campy watch.
I feel like the success of a video game film is like inversely proportional to how serious it takes itself. Like in essence, most video game films that have been made have the like Zack Snyder problem that basically the Batman vs Superman had, in that like everything has to be grim, sour-faced, and serious. No acknowledgement of the fact that games are actually fun.
Yeah, I think one of the issues is that like most games, a lot of games, mainstream games especially, are made for like teenage boys, and that doesn't often translate into like an actually good film. Teenage boys might just want to like see explosions and stuff, but that doesn't translate into being a good film.
Yeah,
I mean, I can understand why they wanted to make like why you'd try and make like an adaptation of things like Max Payne and Hitman and stuff, because like explosions and cool gunfights and things.
Yeah,
but, like in reality, you have to have like all the other bits in a narrative to make it actually work.
Well, Max Payne could have been quite a good film because I think Max Payne 2 is brilliant. Like it's this fun kind of noir story, but there is a sense of self-aware irony almost. Like it knows it's being this kind of, it knows it's kind of very like it's a kind of po-faced kind of gritty noir, and so it kind of almost makes fun of itself. And like in Max's own kind of narration, he's almost tired of how grim everything is, and kind of just like it's also like it's like he goes, "Really, I should have known she was dead by the time I already got there." Things always like, and like all And
there's an element of self-parody.
But I think and then it was completely lost in the. It was Mark Wahlberg and Mila Kunis, wasn't it? In the film?
Yeah, I think so.
Incredibly disappointing.
Yeah, it was
shockingly
really
terrible film.
Yeah, and then what astounds me about Hitman is that there wasn't just one Hitman film. There was two, wasn't there? Didn't they try and adapt it twice?
Did they? So, yeah, I feel like there was a really one ages ago.
There was a one long ago, and then there was a new one that they were both crap. But like the thing is with Hitman, right, and Max Payne, like you say, like they're funny. Like they are one way or another. Like Max Payne, even if you're one of those people that takes it totally serious, like there's still fun elements. You're still like diving through the air, shooting people, and so on. And like if you just try and translate that into like a grim movie about a guy whose parents are dead. No, I don't know. I think his parents are dead, but that's also not important to the story.
Yeah, like his wife and newborn child are murdered by like hyped up sort of psychos on this drug. And like so much about it is his grim life and his descent into alcoholism and reliance on painkillers. Yet there are also moments where you have a boss fight against a man in like a baseball mascot costume.
Yeah, it's really dumb. Like it's got dumb bits that are like supposed to be funny, and like you say, the whole way when it's being really grim and noir, it's aware of that, and it takes the piss a bit, and like even down to the fact that Max Payne's face is like this photograph of the guy.
Oh god, the Max Payne 1 face is the most ridiculous thing.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's basically a photograph stretched over like this kind of polygon model. It looks so bad.
And like trying to play Hitman as like a serious film, it just doesn't work because like Hitman is all about having fun with the game's mechanics. Like, you strangle someone out and you dress up as a maid and you sneak through the back and so on.
Exactly,
obviously, there's serious ways to play it, but like, you crush someone with a falling piano, that kind of thing.
Yeah, those are the bits that are like, because those are the gamey bits that make it like distinct. Whereas what you end up with in a film is like, you don't have those silly moments because it wouldn't necessarily gel with like having the overall film's narrative. If at one point man just dressed up in a dress and dropped a piano on someone, and then the next scene he's like super serious again, it just wouldn't work, I don't think. But
yeah, well, like
there's a bit the entire thing like that.
In Hitman, you're about to assassinate someone, and like you're about to pull them through a window. Like I think in the tutorial of one part, and it's like, and you hear the guy on the phone going, "Oh, but like he's like telling his mate, I just heard from my doctor. My heart condition's cleared. I'm gonna live." And then you pull him through a window.
Yeah.
Or like I think it's in Max Payne 2, there are loads of TVs throughout the levels, and you can actually and they're all showing like these like 5 different shows. But as you progress, you catch different episodes that actually progress the story. So if you pay attention, you literally watch the TV of these like 5. Like there's a really hammed up period drama, and I think there's a cartoon that features the baseball mascot that you fight. And like they're all just completely like dumb and over the top, and it kind of laughs at, and it's almost laughing at Max Payne itself, which itself is this kind of noir pastiche. And it kind of is, that would be kind of weird. Like you couldn't do that in a film.
No.
Yeah, it's like I feel like the reason the Marvel Cinematic Universe works is because it kind of recognizes how daft comic books can be. And it has a bit of fun with it, yeah. And
that was what was great. I love, like, I'd been really tired of a lot of the Marvel films, but I loved the most recent Spider-Man. And there were a lot of, like, jokey elements to the ridiculousness of the Marvel world in Spider-Man Homecoming, where it's like, I don't know, like, I think it's like their gym teachers just makes a couple of comments on just, like, the ridiculousness of the Avengers, or, like, they have a PE class from Captain America given from like a TV presentation.
Yeah. Anyway,
should we move
so
on?
What video games have we all been playing?
I
mean, you've been playing the Switch a lot now.
I have.
How is Splatoon 2? Have you been drawing lots of little emotes for your squid person?
Haven't been because I can't draw. But I've been enjoying the things that other people have drawn. But yeah, Splatoon 2 it's a very fun multiplayer game. It's so enjoyable. It can be a bit frustrating, like every multiplayer game ever made by man, but at the same time, it's very good. The Switch, it's fun, and like you can just, it's magic. It's magic. I don't know. I have complaints about Splatoon 2. It is Nintendo trying to do an online service, and This is not something with which they are experienced or at which they are good.
Oh, I heard about you have to have like a separate app on your phone in order to have talk to people.
If you want to do voice chat, yeah, you have to install the Nintendo Online app on your phone and then join a lobby or something. And so I just ended up using Discord.
Well, it just seemed madness.
But yeah, if you want to like deliberately join a friend's like private lobby, you have to have the app.
Yeah, and you have to have the app like continually open on your phone. If it closes, then the entire thing
it's a bit
shuts you out.
It
sounds a bit shit.
You can do it through the actual game, but it's a bit painful. Like, right, so there's no like party play. Like, you can't join a party with a friend and then go into matchmaking. If you want to play with a friend, you have to basically just join a matchmaking lobby and then have them join it. And so, obviously, there's no guarantee you'll be on their team or anything. And I guess fair enough for game balance reasons, but yeah, that's the same in normal and ranked. If you want to deliberately like team up with friends to see how good you are, you have to unlock the league mode, which involves going from level 1 to 10 in normal mode, which isn't that difficult, doesn't take that long. But then from that you have to go to I think rank B+ or something in the ranked mode, which I think might be quite difficult. And then you unlock league play. And so it's a bit of a...
This seems so unnecessary. Why don't you just give everyone everything to begin with?
Well, what's the thing? Lots of games do that. Like CS:GO, you're not allowed to play competitive, or at least like competitive game mode until you hit a certain level. And Overwatch is similar. Like you're not allowed to play competitive until you're level 25.
Yeah, I get that feature.
I don't know. I'm conflicted on it because I think fine. It lets you obviously have to play enough to become experienced with the game, but often the like quick play variants are often so chaotic and kind of often unfun that it kind of puts you off the game. Like I'd always hated CS:GO because I'd have a go and play in like sort of quick play, and just like this is the worst because it'd be like teams of like 10 people just in a map designed for 4-on-4.
Yeah.
And it was a terrible experience. And basically, some friends were playing like, come on, just get through the levels. I promise you, competitive is a bit better. Eventually, got through it of just I had to get to level 2, but like the XP gains were so short. Yeah, but eventually got into competitive. It was like, oh, actually, CS:GO isn't the
you actually
horrible
the game.
The competitive experience is actually quite fun, and it can be frustrating and it's difficult, but it's a completely different experience to the stuff you get in quick play, where it's just complete chaos, whereas the competitive experience is slightly slower, more methodical, and reliant on teamwork.
And Overwatch is kind of the same, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really similar. Like quick play, it's not quite as bad. Yeah, quick play sucks though because basically no one is playing.
Yeah, properly. No
one's really playing properly, and I can kind of understand it if you want to relax from playing very seriously and competitive. Yeah, but it means that if you're trying to get into the competitive mode, like constant quick play games are just like mad, but that's the thing, and it teaches you nothing that is really useful for going into competitive, other than like, oh well, I know that these characters do these things.
Yeah, it gives you experience with the functions of the game, but at the same time, like nothing about the important bits of how the game is actually played in competitive mode, which is totally different. Where you
need to be in relation to your team, when to push together, like how to if you're trying to flank properly, or
I don't know. I've not played ranked on Splatoon yet, so I can't say whether or not it's like that. But yeah, it's just I feel like because Nintendo have basically almost no experience with designing proper online functionality for games, it's something they're going to run into problems with. And I must say, at this stage, I'm glad they've not rolled out it being a paid service yet, because, like, I don't know, I like Nintendo a lot, but it lacks any of the fluidity of any of the other online services I've ever used in my life.
It's such a weird thing, like, why don't they just hire some people who have done this sort of stuff before?
I don't know.
Instead of trying to just figure it out for yourself, just hire someone who knows what they're doing, and then, oh yeah, great.
I'm assuming
it would think that is not something that's infeasible.
At the same time, I think part of the problem, obviously, is I don't know if the Nintendo Switch has. I don't think it has, like. Obviously, they didn't make it with a microphone port, So, like, that's why you
Right.
need to use your phone. But at the same time, that's like a design fault. But yeah, I don't know. It's
Yeah, what ports are in it? What ports does it have? Does it have?
Basically,
it
well, it has
has a headphone port, doesn't it?
has
So
a headphone port, and it has a USB Type C, and USB Type Cs are magic. They can basically do anything. But
Yeah.
at the same time, I think having synchronous voice chat would involve a lot of design that they just don't know about, and obviously did not think was that important. And I understand part of it is like I can't see Nintendo ever introducing like in-game voice chat, like just lobby voice chat, for the reason that they've always wanted to be a family-friendly kind of platform.
I suppose that's true. Yeah.
You know what people are like in video games.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway,
Because most people have a phone anyway, or some way of just they want to do a voice chat.
but it's a hassle because I need to get my phone and then like I need to put like an earphone in, but just one earphone to talk to my friends.
of course, so you
on
can
my
hear
phone.
the game as well.
Yeah, it's
That is
a bit
pain,
of a faff.
actually.
It's a faff. But anyway, yeah. But yeah, Splatoon 2. Despite that, ace, amazing game, just really, really fun, really colourful, really goofy. Has kind of a fun progression system. It can feel a little topsy-turvy sometimes just because, like, when you first start out, the gun you're given just kind of sucks. And it requires a lot of adaptation because it's not like a normal shooter at all.
So it's a shooter, but you win by you've got a paint gun and you're trying to colour in more of the map than the enemy team?
In one mode, yeah. Like, in the normal mode, yeah, that's the case. But yeah, like, at the same time, because it's a paint gun, basically one thing you need to get used to versus other games is that it's not really a game about like a long-range shooting skill. It's a game about mobility, because just about even the longest range guns in the game are really short range. Like, you're lucky if you can shoot someone across like a mid-sized space with it. Like, they're all very, very short range on purpose, because obviously part of it is, you can go into like squid mode and move very quickly throughout your team's covered area. And so yeah, there's a lot of really interesting mechanics in it. And once I've played it more, I might consider them in more depth.
Cool. George, you want to talk a bit about Brink and stuff?
Yeah, so like
50 minutes.
Brink is basically a game that broke my heart and kind of, in many ways, hardened me to the video game hype machine long before the despairs of other games. So I think it originally came out in 2010, possibly like maybe late 2010, possibly 2011. And yeah, basically it was an objective shooter that had a parkour system and a class system. And I think the setting it was set on like, the seas rise, people escape on this utopian floating city, and there's basically a divide between a lot of people that came there as refugees who live in like a shanty town and the people that originally lived there. And there's no one's heard from the outside world. The refugees want to try and escape the city because they're treated poorly and suppressed. And they're kind of basically they look kind of like anarchist stereotypes. There's like a lot of anarchy symbols and kind of so that sort of thing. Like face masks and attack clothing. And then you've got like security forces who want to stop them from damaging the Ark and escaping. But Brink is a game of a million brilliant ideas, not a single one of which is executed well. So I remember being excited for this game, despite not having a computer that could run it, not knowing anyone that I would play it with, and not being able to afford it. Like, there was no way I was ever going to play Brink. Basically, when it came out. Yeah, I was really excited because I'd watched all these brilliant, like, it had really awesome trailers that, lots of sort of cinematic things of this very like interestingly art designed people. They it
looks really
like they
good.
had really sort of odd proportions, but everyone had these kind of very like cool, distinct looks. They looked really interesting, and you'd see them because it had like a free running system. You'd see them doing all this very cool acrobatic kind of action, and then they brought out lots of gameplay trailers. And there are like 4 classes as well as 3 different body types. So if you're a heavy man, you can carry heavy weapons, but you can't really do much of the free running. And if you're a medium person, you can carry like assault rifles and everything lighter, and you can do some of the free running. And if you're a very light person, you can only carry like the lighter weapons, but you're supposedly very mobile. And then there are classes, and everything was emphasized about the objective play. So like there's an escort mode and there's sort of assault modes where you got to like blow up an objective and progress through. And every class can do different things to aid the objective. Like the soldier can place explosives to blow up barricades. And sometimes that's the main objective. And other times you can blow up a little corridor that is a shortcut for your team. Yeah. And then the engineer like repairs the payload and then can repair damaged bits of the map that mean it takes a bit longer for the enemy team to get there. And like the spy can disguise themselves. If they find an enemy corpse, they can disguise themselves, or even interrogate the downed soldier, because it has a revive system similar to other games. And then the medic just revives people. And at any point, you can bring up this little objective wheel, and it will tell you the main objective, and then your like class specific objectives. So it might be like, if you're a medic, like, oh, there's some people down over here. Or if you're a spy, you'd be like, go and capture this side thing.
Yeah,
and it all looked amazing. So it's like, wow, you've all got these meaningful roles that kind of contribute to the overall objective of the game, and they promise these huge, like these wide open maps that would facilitate incredible movement.
I know the name, and I've heard of Brink. I remember when it came out.
Around and
I know
like
very, very little
sneaking
about
flanks
it, so
and opening up shortcuts.
Learning.
And I remember the trailers looked amazing. Like the parkour looked really smooth. Like all the UI and menus looked ace.
And it does have a decent parkour system. It's just like, so it released and apparently networking was just terrible. Yeah. So everyone experienced really bad lag.
And the game in general was
just wasn't great. Like
it was a bit of a stodgy mess.
So I finally got to play it a couple of years later. I picked it up on a Steam sale, and nothing quite works. Like all the characters are just a bit too slow. Like at the time it felt alright. Yeah. But the reason I brought it up now is because it recently went free to play. Currently, currently the game is just free. There are no elements in it that have been added as of yet that indicate free to play. Like they've just made the game free because it was made by Splash Damage.
Yeah, that was one of the things,
by a Chinese company whose main business, I think, is poultry.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that.
And for some reason, acquired Splash Damage and have now released Brink's free to play. But I played it the other day, and it was really interesting because lots of Brink ideas have been picked up by other games. Like it had that Titanfall idea of you play a multiplayer campaign that is the storyline, that is a series of multiplayer matches that form a coherent story, and Brink did that. So you played like on the police side, and you played 8 games that were multiplayer games that you had to win in order to progress the police story. That were basically just bookended by cutscenes, and that was pretty unexciting.
Yeah.
And like it had a parkour system, which Titanfall also picked up. But going back to it, you're so slow. So like, yeah, fine, you can climb onto most things. But coming from the kind of near weightlessness and speed of things like Titanfall, or I guess the more recent Call of Duties, Brink, you just feel like, I can barely move. This doesn't feel like I have really any mobility compared to none whatsoever.
That's what I remember about it at the time. It's just like even, I don't know, I guess, like you're saying, it wasn't that bad for the era because shooters were a lot slower paced then. But I remember like coming from like a background of something like Team Fortress 2, just other games that were generally a bit like quicker on their feet. Like I remember going and like, I remember for one I was playing it on the Xbox as well, so that didn't help because the gunplay wasn't very good. I don't think it was that good on anything, but on controllers it was.
Yeah, the guns just felt bad. The guns looked really cool, and
they looked
had an awesome customization system where you could, put like 1 million attachments on, and it looked really fun.
Yeah,
and it was great. It was just the guns kind of handled like crap. The kills weren't particularly satisfying because everyone had like just a bit too much health.
Yeah, it
would take like a magazine to kill someone, and there wasn't really much feedback, and it was all a bit. Nothing quite worked about it, and which was really disappointing. And so I saw it had gone free to play, so I picked up again recently, and basically just all of the disappointment all over again.
Yeah, it's like, unsurprisingly, I don't think Splash Damage spent a huge amount of time maintaining the game, because... Oh yeah, Nevi, I don't know, are you familiar with Splash Damage? Because I know you're not that much of a multiplayer shooter guy. Yeah. Basically, for a long time, well, I suppose, I think it's still got an active community, but they have a kind of legendary status for making one of the definitive, like, early 2000s multiplayer shooters in Wolfenstein enemy territory. And yeah.
Yeah, which did have a very strong class system and kind of objective-based game modes.
They kind of, to be honest, like obviously there's the original Team Fortress mod and so on, but like in terms of popularizing it, they did a huge amount to popularize class-based stuff, like it in Battlefield, kind of. But yeah.
Yeah, and it's just a shame because and the maps themselves were quite small, so it was like, yeah, there's the main corridor, and then there's like one other route that you can kind of parkour over. Because basically the parkour system basically just turned out to be you can climb over all the obstacles.
Yeah, I remember that. That was the most disappointing thing.
Satisfying.
Like, yeah, it was just like, oh, you can sprint at something and jump over it, and it's like, right. Especially, I think...
And if you're a lighter class, you can sprint, jump at a ledge, and then you'll grab it and slowly pull yourself up.
Yeah, I feel like one of the things it had was I guess the disadvantage, like, on an aesthetic level, as well as, like, obviously the way it marketed itself, the way it looked, everyone I think was hoping for, like, obviously it existed post the Mirror's Edge, and everyone was hoping for that kind of movement system, I think. Like, you know, being able to sprint...
Yeah, it basically it was basically the Mirror's Edge movement system in the sense that you would sprint and then you kind of aimed your camera and had a jump button. It was you were so slow.
You were very slow, and I don't think you didn't have that many mobility options really, apart from, like you say, just jumping on stuff. And yeah, and then like I think if I remember right, because there was different classes,
but none of the classes actually did that much. What had been advertised as like important battlefield roles really didn't turn out to be particularly anything exciting.
I remember the whole secondary objective thing was supposed to be really big because it was like, oh yeah, because every different class, every different player will have different things they'll be focusing on at any given time that will cohere into a larger objective. And I can understand how they'd bungle that in 2011 because that's something people still fail to do now. But yeah.
And it was cool because you could bring up a little wheel that told you your specific objectives and you'd select one, and I guess it would like point out you were doing that.
And it was interesting because obviously it tried to have all these different sub things that a lot of games just don't bother with that now. Like they obviously, I think maybe many games have that in the game design, but it's something that's kind of left to the player. So obviously, you know, there's a lot of games that have like revival mechanics, or they'll have additional things different classes can do, but it's something that's kind of left to people to figure out. But in a way, it gave you the option of like marking them. I don't know. But yeah, they had a lot of interesting ideas that, like you say, other games cribbed from.
Yeah, I mean, even the very like the really cool aesthetic was kind of let down because you could customize your character with a ton of cool gear, but they were really like, and it was almost too free because you could play as the anarchists who, like by default, had a very kind of rusty, orangey kind of color scheme, and then the police were kind of, you know, lots of greys and blues. The problem was you could customize your character and change all their color scheme, so it became very difficult to determine, like to look at someone and immediately figure out their team, because you could be an anarchist who was kind of wearing, you know, like a trench coat and with kind of blue and grey hues, and it's like, is that my team? I can't tell.
Yeah. Oh well.
And so it basically ended up allowing way too much kind of noise.
I don't know if it's just me, but I distinctly remember 2011 being a very disappointing video game year. So I'm not surprised it was a 2011 game. Anyway.
I think I feel actually, I don't know, I thought it was...
That's Skyrim.
But, I guess it was basically Skyrim and then not much else.
Yeah, nothing that I can recall anyway, really. 2011, yeah.
But
2011 was... What was it?
I don't know, it wasn't in my extensive quiz of the noughties.
Yeah, no, obviously. I think it was like...
I guess check back in 2020 for our...
Because by the eternal Call of Duty calendar, the Call of Duty Mayan clock, what was that game that year? Was it Modern Warfare 3? Because it was shit. Or was it... It could have been Ghosts. Or it might have been Ghosts. Was Ghosts 2011? No, Ghosts is more recent. And it was also shit.
I think it could have been Modern Warfare 3, yeah.
And it...
Yeah, the only other thing from 2011 I remember was Portal 2.
Oh, Portal 2, yeah. Fair dues, actually. Portal 2 was a really good game. I'm always surprised it's so old, because it's still such like a fresh feeling game. But anyway.
I mean, so I picked that up again because it was free. And basically almost immediately put it back down. But give it a go because it's free. It's worth seeing and being like, wow, there are some cool ideas here. Shame it sucks. But another game I played, which was really fun, was a game called 12 Orbits. Because basically I had a whole load of people over for some kind of local multiplayer games. And I'd seen this game called 12 Orbits on the Steam store. And it was like 99p. And I was like, and it advertised local multiplayer for up to 12 players. And I was like, okay, well, that sounds ideal. I'll get it. And you can have 12 people playing this game on the same keyboard, because all anyone needs is a single button. So at the start of the game, basically everyone just taps the button that they want to use. So like you just choose a key on the keyboard, tap it, and then that becomes your assigned key. And the way it works is you're kind of in a little map that has lots of little kind of grayed out circles dotted about the place. And those are things that you can orbit. And so you start off and you're a little like... You kind of look like almost like a little sort of sperm thing. You're like a circle with a little trail. And you just go in a straight line. And the way you change... And you can tap your button if you're not in one of the grey circles to do a little like spiral, which like boosts you forward a little bit and will actually dodge you through anything in your way. And when you're in a grey circle that has a little point in the middle, you tap the button and you'll start to orbit the circle. So the only way to change the direction is to fly through a little circle, start to orbit it, and then unorbit yourself at the right time to go in the right direction.
I see.
And the way you win is there are loads and loads of just kind of ping pong balls bouncing around this little 2D rectangle that start off as white, and when you bump into a white one, it changes to your colour. If you ever bump into one that is someone else's colour, you die, and basically all your ping pong balls become theirs. And so you're trying to be the last person alive, like, to survive, essentially. And it's got a really fun little momentum system, because you'll bounce into a ping pong ball, but then it applies its physics, and so it'll completely change your trajectory. But yeah, it's great. I mean, like, just the joy of, like, I think we had 7 people on trying to like crowd around one keyboard in order to play this game.
Wow!
Like climbing over each other on like one sofa. But yeah, it was 99p, and it was great fun for kind of half an hour. And apparently you can get it on tablet as well, so you can have a whole lot of people crowding around a
Oh wow!
Around your 7-inch Android, not fucking 7-inch Amazon Fire tablet that you borrowed off your gran. Get 7 people around it.
Well, like I think it reminded me of this. I think there's an iPhone like a touchscreen game where everyone puts their finger on the screen, and the way you win is you're the last person to have a finger on the screen.
This sounds like it could turn violent.
Yeah, and like that's the game. You just have to be the last person touching the screen.
Just beat the shit out of everybody else.
Like I wonder how many phones it's broken.
Grab the phone.
Pushing just...
But yeah, I mean, those are the kind of new-ish things I've been playing. I've been going back to XCOM 2 in excitement for War of the Chosen, which will have been released by the time this podcast comes out. I think it's released today, the Monday the 28th. But yeah, cool. I've been going easy on myself. Basically, I'm not going full Iron Man, but I'm not going complete reloading every save. I'm just relying on autosaves, so I only get like 3 turns leeway. So I'm not as hard as myself that I was in the beginning. Yeah. So I'm trying to somehow relax and play XCOM.
That's fair. Don't know how you manage that. That's so much stress.
Yourself, Nevi, you been playing any of the games, eh?
I've been playing Elder Scrolls Online a bit, but I'll talk about it next time because we're over an hour mark. True. So I'll just skip it. It gives me chance to play it a bit more, have some more thoughts. I'll let you know some more about that next time. Do we have a quick 10 minutes to talk about 1 or 2 board games, George, and then Sounds we'll good. Wrap up?
Have you been playing anything?
Not really. I got Race for the Galaxy the other day, and I've been trying to learn it, and it's just confusing. Are you doing
the sensible thing of getting in your game and then learning before you try and play with everyone else?
Yeah. I've sat down. I did a dummy game. I think I get how it works now, but it it's one of those games that first of all it looks really ugly compared to a lot of games that newer games. You can tell its age by like some of the cards are just. And it uses this weird hieroglyphic system for a lot of things. So it comes with a cheat sheet that's this sort of A4 size bit of paper that tells you what all the symbols mean. And yeah, it's going to be a hard sell, I think, to my family, that one. So I might have to just get some friends to play it instead, because that's, it's well confusing. I tried to sit down and learn it with my brother the other day after I'd learned it, and he was like, "What? Can we just play something else?" So I was like, "Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. It doesn't make sense properly at first." So it's
because what is it? It's like
so
you're sort of building up
Galaxy.
a little galactic empire, right?
Yeah, so you're building like a galactic tableau in front of you of up to 12 cards. Once you hit 12, the game ends, and you get planets and developments. By doing that, in order to do that though, before you start doing anything, each player chooses a specific phase that they want to happen in a round. And then everybody does all of the phases that were chosen, and then the person who chose one of them gets to do a bonus thing. So, for example, there's 5 phases, however, 2 of the phases also have 2 options for them, which makes it just really confusing. Just have 6 or 7, to be honest. But, so for example, Explore lets you look at the stack of cards in the middle of the table, take, I think it's like 2 generally. Take 2, pick 1, discard the other face down. And then if you chose to do it, you can take more cards and keep more cards. Because all the cards count as currency, goods, as well as planets that you play. Because in order to play a planet or development, you have to discard cards equal to its cost. So there is a bit of divvying up what you want to keep, what you want to get rid of. It's just interesting. It's interesting, and I'm actually going to play it properly
with other
point,
people.
But God, it was such a fast learn. It was like the rules are really convoluted. I just looked at the video in the end. I was like, "Oh, okay, that's what that means." Got you. It did a really crap job of explaining how goods worked. For example, I was like, "So what are the goods then? How do I consume them?" I don't understand. I looked at it. Had to YouTube that.
Had to crack open your copy of
Karl
Marx's Das Kapital to understand it.
Yeah, I didn't think it was just me being dense, because I've learned rules for games relatively quickly and teach them all right. So I was just like, I just don't get how this one bit works. But yeah, I'll report back on it in the future. So, how about you, George? What you've been playing?
I got to play Letters from Whitechapel, which is yet another hidden movement game in the vein of the Fury of Dracula series. But rather than chasing a Dracula around Europe, you are the police chasing Jack the Ripper around Whitechapel. And it was really interesting to play. It's a game I've had for a while, but I've kind of played a couple of times when I first got it, and now it's been sitting on my shelf for about a year. Hadn't taken it off, and then playing Fury of Dracula made me want to bring it down again, because basically it's a beautifully themed game in the sense that it's got this gorgeous board, this kind of Victorian style sort of tea-stained map of Whitechapel. But the actual game itself is, I guess it's quite crunchy. Like, it's very, simplified and quite hardcore compared with Fury of Dracula, which is also heavily themed, but there's lots of kind of fluffy actions and kind of stocking up on garlic and getting cards and building inventory, whereas Letters from Whitechapel is just the police move, they see if Jack is on a space, or they can try and arrest on that space, and Jack just runs away. And it's basically, at the start of the game, Jack chooses a space on the board to be his hideout, and then there are 4 rounds, and at the start of each round, Jack will murder one of his victims at a point on the board, and then has to escape to his hideout, and that ends the round. And it is punishing for the police. It is a very hard game for the police to win. Because while you had the vampire hunters in Fury of Dracula, who basically almost by luck can get Dracula's location, because you're constantly drawing kind of event cards and things that happen that can just force Dracula to reveal bits of his trail. But there is absolutely nothing like that in Letters of Whitechapel. It is simply the police have to move, check for clues at a location. Basically, has Jack been there or not? And that is all the information they get. And so it's and so, basically the police, you're given absolutely nothing. There is no, comeback mechanic for you. If you're not doing well, you like it's hardcore. It's there's like it's pain. It can be really painful to be the police, and especially because Jack sometimes like it has this wonderful arc of at the start. You're like, as Jack, you feel very confident because you'll like sort of run rings around the police, who basically you see them sitting across the table, kind of like sweating because they can't find you, and it's frustrating. And so you have this kind of wonderful arrogance, and then the game kind of progresses, and there'll be a certain point where suddenly the police might not even know it, but they have discovered enough locations that you've been to, so they'll be like, oh, he's been to this base, then we think he went to this base, and like they're right. And you as Jack, you've got to keep this poker face because you can't reveal that they're right. And so if you've been kind of joking around, not laughing at them, but kind of, like perhaps playing the role of someone trying to confound his pursuers, you always kind of have to keep it up, even though inside you're going, oh god, they're right around the corner, because you like. And like sometimes the police will look over at Jack, who's just been silent and just silent and staring at the board, and you have to do this kind of wonderful poker face. So they'll be like, "Is he there?" And you just have to be like, you can't react, you can't smile, because you've got to sit this whole game staring at them, because with Fury of Dracula, there's so much information that you can get from kind of random chance. Whereas in Lords of Whitechapel, it is just what the police can find through the ability to find clues. And looking at Jack and his reactions.
Right. It's such a weird idea that this game where obviously the police are hunting a serial killer, but in reality he's sitting across from him, and they can use some mind games.
Yeah, I WhatsApp them a picture of because as Jack, every time you move, you don't plot it on the board. You just write down the spaces. Right. So it was I was at space 121, and then I moved to space 136. And so at the end of the game, you have all of your moves tracked out on paper. But you can taunt people by taking a picture of your thing, and then I was using the WhatsApp image editor just to put a big emoji over the bit where my home base was written. But yeah, as Jack, you're really Jack has a couple of powers where he can spend a carriage, do a double move, or he can kind of spend a thing to phase through a kind of city block on the board.
Ah, those famous superpowers.
Yeah. And yeah, it's really tough on the police, because if there's absolutely nothing to help them if they're struggling, they just lose. And it is so it can be particularly frustrating for the police. Slightly more relaxed. I tried Sushi Go, Evie, as you'll be happy to hear, and that was really fun.
Oh, good.
I liked that.
Yeah, no, it is good.
It was just at the end of an evening, and it was just a lovely game that made me feel very hungry looking at these nicely illustrated cards of sushi.
Yeah, no, it's really cute, and it's just really light as well. It's nice. It's one of those games you can just play with anyone because it's easy to pick up.
It was super easy. And then the other thing I played was, I guess this kind of blurs the video game board game divide. Jackbox Party, which is it's essentially a video game collection of board game-ish types, sort of party games. But it's a really cool system. So basically, you set it up on the computer, and then everyone interacts with the computer via their phones. And we only played 2, because I think there were 7 of us playing. And there were only 2 games in the pack that took that number, and apparently the guy playing said the others weren't great.
Which pack was it?
I can't remember. It was 2.
What games?
There's party packs 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
What games were
so we played? I think it was. There was one where you had to lie. So basically, you were asked a question, and you had to submit a lie that was an answer to that question, and the game would throw in some as well, and then so you'd all submit your answer on the phone. So I can't remember. One of them was they're all kind of one thing. So it was one of the only question I vaguely remember was at some point Lucy Liu admitted to having sex with blank. And so you write your answer, and so there's obviously a lot of, it's slightly kind of Cards Against Humanity style scope for humour. And the way you get points is you submit your answer, it reveals everyone's answers, but just it doesn't show you whose is whose, and you have to select one that you think is the real answer. So the game puts in the real answer, and you get points for choosing the real answer, as well as points for people that chose your answer. So basically, you've got to kind of submit an answer that is believable, people will think is the right answer, but will find the right answer yourself. And it's good fun. Then also you can like people's answers. There's also a prize for the most liked answers.
Yeah. I remember that game. I can't remember what it's actually called.
Yeah, and then
unless
there was,
it's the...
No, neither.
And then the other one was a drawing one. So you
that's it.
get given a... Which is, it was similar. So each person is given a thing that they're told to draw.
There's some of them are ridiculous. It's like
Drawful?
Elvis on a toilet.
That's it, drawful. So you're told you draw a little sketch out a little thing on your phone, and then it gets displayed to everyone.
Yeah.
And so you know what the name of the thing you had to draw was, and then everyone else writes, like the live one, everyone else writes a name for what they think it was, and then it shows all the names, and you choose what you think it was.
I think the other one...
wait, no, maybe it's just you write the name of what you think it was.
Yeah.
Oh, no, yeah, so you write the name of what you think it was, and everyone chooses which one they think is right.
Yeah. And the same thing, you get points for people guessing yours, and points for getting it right.
Yeah, the Jackbox games are incredible. Like, they're really funny.
Yeah, it was a really, really good, it's a really fun laugh, and it worked really well with the phone. It was really easy because it's just a web app that you...
Yeah, that's the amazing thing. You don't need much setup for it. Like, it's just everyone who has a phone, and everyone has a phone.
It just says go to jackbox.tv.
You put in the code.
Yeah, and then you put in like a 4-letter code that it shows on the TV, and you're immediately in. And you get to give yourself a stupid name, and draw a little avatar for yourself.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was great fun. It immediately kind of just sets up little stupid in jokes and things.
Yeah,
people, like giving stupid answers. Because it's half the fun is just giving a funny or witty answer, that, even though you know that it in no way is no one ever going to vote for it. Just because the moment at which it reveals people's answers or drawings is the best bit.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, I think the one I played the other day was they're kind of variable. I think the first one's pretty solid. Like, all the games in it are decent. But the one I played the other day with my friends I think it was the third one, the third pack. And there were like 3 good games, and the other 2 were absolute gash.
Yeah, from what I'd read, it was always like there's 2 good games in each pack and some crap ones in each one.
Some of them are kind of filler. They sometimes kind of work, but the ones I played, one of them was you had to find basically everyone was given a thing that they had to raise their hand for or point to someone, and one person was the faker. And they weren't actually given... They just had to pretend that they were engaging with it. And then, obviously, they had to figure it out. That one was really good, because, obviously, it would be like... I don't know... I can't remember. One of them was, raise your hand if you... One of them was raise your hand if you sleep next to a toy at night. And, obviously, the one person wouldn't be told that. And so everyone else would have their hands down. And you'd probably put your hand up or something, and you just have to make up a convincing lie.
That's a bit like Fake Artists in New York, almost. Which is it's a board game where
that is a good game.
It's kind of the thing where basically everyone
knows what they should be drawing.
So basically, one person is the game master and gives everyone a card, and on the card it will say
giraffe or something.
The wind, or the wind and the willows, like a film. And basically, but one person gets a card which is just blank, or it says you're the fake artist. And so a piece of paper is passed around the table, and each person has to draw a bit of something. And they're only allowed to, you can't ever take your pen off the paper. If your pen comes off the paper,
it's a single line, and everyone's got their own colour pen as well, so you can tell which line each person's drawn. And
you have to. And basically, the way it works is the paper goes round, everyone draws something. Obviously, one person has no idea what they're meant to be drawing. But then at the end of the game, you're trying to find the person that doesn't know what the subject is. So you're trying to draw something that conveys to everyone else you know what it is, but doesn't convey to the person who doesn't know what it is you're drawing. Because if you find them, if you find the fake artist, they get one last ditch attempt to guess what it to win by just guessing what the theme was.
It's really strong. You get some hilariously crap drawings as well out of it.
Yeah, so it starts off and usually everyone just draws something really obvious, but then as you play 2 or 3 games, because it's really quick, everyone just gets more and more obscure. Because you can add to other people's drawings or draw half of something and then add more on the second time round. But yeah, that's a great fun game. And you don't even need to buy the game; it's so easy to just play with pen and paper.
That is true.
Yeah, because once you know the rules, you don't actually.
No, you don't. It comes in a really cute tiny box. It's size of a smartphone sort of thing, or it's maybe even smaller than that actually, but it's a cute tiny box. And it gives you all the pens and all the pad and stuff. And some whiteboards, which is always nice. So you have to have your own bits for that. But no, it's really good. I really enjoy Fake Artist. Yeah. Should we wrap up, guys? Unless there's anything else worth.
Yeah, probably put a bow on
it. We've run long as usual. I'd say we've run
as usual. I think at this point we're so used to this point that we need a bit more discipline.
I think this could be actually our shortest podcast yet because instead of editing.
We've not topped a half hour, so it's not bad.
Yeah. I'll just remind people listening that we are still doing the book club book of the games people play. That's the name of the book, isn't it? Which we're going to try and discuss next podcast. Is that what we agreed?
Yeah, we'll discuss it next episode.
By Eric Byrne, MD.
Yeah,
it could be a PhD.
Be warned, you will if you do read along with us, it is not a immediately obviously video games related book, as it is a detailed thesis on psychoanalysis and an exploration of people's egos and the way they interact with each other.
I think you'll find if people play board games, they'll probably find more relevance than if they just play video games. I'd say.
Yeah. So we're gonna finish the book off next time and desperately try and relate it to games.
It does mean that you can finally achieve your dreams of becoming that one psychology undergrad friend who is always psychoanalyzing his pals, and everyone finds it really annoying. You can be that person.
Learn one school of thought on psychoanalysis and apply it in every situation.
Exactly, like having read a single psychiatry essay and then constantly citing it. It's just like that.
Exactly. Right, so let's wrap up. Thank you for listening to the Bits and Pieces podcast. If you found us without the website attached, you can find us at bitsandpieces.games or on Twitter at bits+pieces and on Facebook at those bits and pieces, as well as Instagram at those bits and pieces. Did I get that right?
Yeah, our Instagram is those bits and pieces.
Right, awesome. You can follow me specifically at Nevada Drew on Twitter, and you guys are...
I am at _scruffy looking, capital S, capital L.
And I have finally shook myself free of the shackles of my old Twitter name, and I am now at Gavbit.
That's right. Sorry, it just sounds rude.
It does sound rude. It's, well, you know.
I mean, I guess it wasn't Gav.
I suppose it's true.
Well, I mean, that's the name, but I make no promises about the content.
Just dick pics.
I don't know how long it'll take for Twitter to ban me, but until that time, I'm going to keep on going.
Right, once again, thank you for listening. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Yeah, I feel like I don't know if anyone noticed there, but I slipped off the toilet and came back. Anyway, just so everyone knows, it's very important everyone understands my bodily functions.
Let's get a yawn real quick.